Hey guys, my name's Nate. I'm the video editor and 3D animator at Media Marketers. And today I'm going to show you a breakdown of how I did the Darryl Isaacs Super Bowl TV spot. So here we can see there's a final frame as it appears in the commercial. Let's go ahead and get out of here, and we're going to go over into Maya, my 3D program. So this is the shot as it appears in the 3D program. You can see we've got a nice little scene built here. We've got Darryl. We got Darryl as he shot on green screen. If we rotate the camera too far around, you can see the shot kind of breaks down. So Darryl's not actually in 3D. We've just projected him onto a little card there. But you can see everything else is in 3D. The cars, the scene that the cars appear in. A lot of the trees, pretty much everything else. So Darryl's kind of just stuck in this all digital world here that we've created for him. You've probably noticed as I was orbiting my camera, the trees, many of them are kind of projected onto these cards exactly the same as Darryl is. And that's because we've got a lot of trees that we're generating in this environment. I think there's something like 400. And if we were to have all of those be completely 3D, where kind of every leaf was modeled, the render times for that would crank into the hours per frame easily. 30 frames a second, 900 frames in Darryl's spot. You can kind of see how the time to render would just be enormous. We do have a few trees in 3D though. I'm going to go ahead and turn off some of the so-called fake trees so you can see. The four trees closest to the camera, the 4 or 5 trees, they're all completely in 3D. If I zoom the camera in and start to orbit it, you can see that each individual leaf is kind of modeled out and fully rendered. These are the trees that the viewers are going to see the most often, so I did want to go ahead and make those fully 3D. But if we tried to extrapolate that out, I mean, our scene is already at 3 million triangles. If I select just one of these oaks here, you can see that the try count is now 453,000 just for one tree. So if you multiply that out by 50, 100, 200 trees, it would just be unrenderable pretty much. Now coming back over here to the main scene, we've got the 2 cars involved here, and as you can see, they are just about to crash. In fact, they've already fragmented a little bit. Let me turn off some of these layers so it'll play better here. Off, off, off. There we go. That made the scene a lot more responsive. So you can see all the little bits of debris here that are kind of coming apart and flying around. Those are rigid bodies that we've just fragmented and plugged into a physics engine and just had it go. They're baked in now, so using a geometry cache to improve performance during playback and during rendering. The hood of the cars, I couldn't find a solution that was that I was extremely happy with, but what I ended up doing was going with end cloth. There is a sheet metal preset in the end cloth settings that I went ahead and tweaked a little bit, and in layman's terms out there, this is something this would ordinarily be used to simulate like a dress or a tablecloth, but I kind of hacked it together to simulate bending metal as best I could, because there's no real tool out there for that presently. So that's also been baked into a geometry cache. The humans drivers, as you can see, we did our at Scorn's spot about a year and a half or so ago. We didn't have any drivers in the cars because that wasn't in our budget. Looked a little odd, so we went ahead and got some humans and put them in the cars this time. There's an airbag that deploys for each one, and you can see they kind of react to the hit of the airbag, and the airbag reacts to them. This woman, her hair is physically simulated as well. and she's even got she was drinking some coffee, and that coffee has splattered all over the place inside of her car. Now we're rendering this out in a lot of passes. If I go over here to my render passes here, you can see we're splitting this up into a lot of different elements. We've got our main elements here. We've got a custom pass for the windshield. There's some smoke that comes out of the cars during the wrecks. We've got a render layer for the smoke, and we've got a couple overrides for the environment, and a couple and one for Darryl. In addition to the render layers, we've also got render passes. So we pull up my render settings here, and we go to the main layer. We've got a couple custom passes here, and then we've just got a vector pass, a reflection, a refraction, and a specular pass. These custom passes are color passes that allow us to isolate certain elements of the vehicles during compositing. So you can see in the hypershade this car paint material, for example. You can see we've got a write to color buffer node, and we're writing to the blue channel. So basically anywhere this material appears in the scene, it's going to output a custom pass that is only the color blue. And we've got other elements rendering out to the red and the green channels as well. And in compositing, we can split out those elements and use those as mattes, so we can adjust specific elements of the car and really dial in those elements without having to go back and re-render. So let's look at the After Effects comp we've got here. This is our project workflow here. So down here we've got all of the different elements that have been pulled in. We're using either IFFs if it's just a quick and dirty pass, or EXRs if it's something more complicated that needs different specific render passes baked into it. This is our base comp here. Everything is there, but there's no custom post-production effects applied to it yet. So what you can see is this is the base pass as it's rendered out, and then we've started to pull in Darryl here. Darryl's on his own layer. These passes are what allow us to dial in. You can see as I toggle this on and off, the blue car starts looking a lot more realistic than what was just rendered straight out the 3D package straight out of Maya. Same, if I toggle on the Captiva, starts just looking a lot more realistic. That's what those render passes have allowed us to do. They've allowed us to go in and tweak things on a per element basis. So if I go over here to one of these cars passes, you can see we've got different elements in the blue car isolated from everything else in the scene, and that's allowed us to just sort of dial in the realism on these cars. Let me turn everything off so we can just see the paint. We've got a set matte node up here that's linking to the paint matte. So if I switch over into the paint matte, you can see what this is being pulled from. We've got our extractor here that's pulling the blue channel out of the color pass that we rendered earlier. So if I come over here and switch it back to just normal RGB, you can see now the pass as it was rendered out of Maya. You can see the green is going to be any place in the car's body that I wanted to maybe tweak. The red is going to be the rims or any other metallic objects, and then we've got the blue, which is going to be the paint. So this allows us to isolate different elements of the car or different objects or really anything we want with 100% accuracy. We can isolate up to 3 objects or materials per color pass. So if we come back over here, you can see what we did with that. Now that we've isolated the paint, we've applied a curves modifier to darken the paint a little bit, and we've turned down the saturation just a little bit because I thought it was maybe a little too blue coming out of Maya. We've also got a reflection pass on the paint, so if I toggle that on and off, you can see the paint gets a little more reflective. That's the reflection pass that was rendered earlier. And this is the raw pass, but you can see I've constrained it to just the paint on the blue car using that matte we referenced earlier, because we don't want anywhere else in the scene to be more reflective. And then we've just gone straight up the layer stack. We've got the rims here that we've darkened because they were just a little bit too bright and shiny. We've got glass here, so we've brightened the interior of the car just a little bit. We've got Darryl being occluded behind the passenger in the car, and we've got a couple just other finishing passes to finalize things out. So going back to our base comp, you can see we've got our adjustments for the blue car. We've also gone in and we've got our adjustments going for the silver car. We've got Darryl layered in. We've made a couple adjustments to the various glass and headlights in the scene to just try and make them a little more realistic. And we've also got some smoke. That's kind of hard to see, but as I look in this area, as I kind of toggle it on and off. And that's our base comp. So then we take that into the depth of field channel. So this is our second tier here of compositing. We took our base comp, and now we've got our depth pass. And this was also rendered out as a pass, and basically the closer the colors are to white, the closer it is to the camera, and the further towards black, the further away the elements are from the camera. So this allows a plugin to kind of figure out where different elements are in space. So if I toggle this plugin on and off, you can see that depth of field is there and gone. I can increase the depth of field to make it look like we're on a miniature set here. I can toggle where the camera is focused. So you can see we can scroll up and down in the depth pass. So for example, if for some reason I wanted to focus on this lamp pole back here, I just scrub there, and now all of a sudden the foreground is out of focus, but the background is in focus. So once we have the depth the way we want, we come to the third tier, which is the motion vectors, or motion blur. So again, we've got our depth pass now brought in, and then we're linking to our motion vectors channel. So this doesn't look like a whole lot, but baked in here is basically how much each individual pixel is moving and in what direction it's moving from frame to frame. So we've got another plugin here that can interpolate that and turn that into motion blur. So I'm going to exaggerate it here just so you can see. So if I turn this way up, you can see that we've got this part of the car is basically still because it's coming towards the camera, not a lot of motion blur coming towards the camera. The rest of it is really blurred because the camera's rotating around, and of course the blue car is hurtling towards the silver car, and it's motion blurred as well. And again, this can be adjusted in real time as well during compositing. So once we've got our motion vectors, we come up to the final pass, which is the we just call it comp. This is where we apply the final color corrections and different finishing effects. So we've got a number of plugins here that are all working off here. We've got our initial look or our initial color grade. I'm going to turn them all off to start. We've got our initial color grade here, which is as I toggle it on and off, it's mostly brightened the shadows a little bit. It's added a slight contrast increase and a slight washing out of some of the colors. But basically this footage can be graded to look just whatever way we want. We've got our color balance here. We've gone in and brightened the highlights and added like a red tint to the whole thing to make it look just a little bit vintage. Then we've darkened the corners here just to draw the viewer's focus towards the center of the screen and not towards the edges. And then we've got our really slight lens flares here. You got to have a lens flare if you want your 3D spot to look snazzy. This plugin is pulling off of the specular channel down here. If I pull this up, you can see any highlights on the paint of the cars is being pulled, and the brighter the highlight, the brighter the lens flare that links back to it. And so that's pretty much it. That's our comp, and that's the workflow that we've used for pretty much all of Darryl Isaac's shots. Hopefully this is something you can apply towards your own projects as you work, and if you have any questions, just post in the comments. Thanks.